Free agency is here, Chiefs Kingdom. The legal tampering period opens today at 12 Eastern Time, 11 Central Time. And today, I'm going to give you the perfect free agency plan for Brett Veach and Andy Reid after signing Chris Jones. We appreciate you watching the Chiefs Report by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Jace Andrews, and Jones is signed, which means we can start to figure out what else is needed here in free agency for Kansas City, as they agreed to a 5-year, $95 million guaranteed contract, going to shape out to be around $160 million for the Chiefs, all-pro defensive tackle, and a deserving guy for that contract. And now they avoided him going to free agency and being able to talk with other teams, so don't have to sit here and stress all day today about if Chris Jones is going to all of a sudden sign with somebody else. No, he's locked in with Kansas City for the next 5 years. Now, with that, though, the cap space kind of does go to hell. So right now, if you look at it at face value, that means we're taking the $32 million that Chris Jones will make per year and add that into the Chiefs cap space. They're around negative $29 million, which isn't good, but they don't have to be under that number until Wednesday. And so there's a couple things that the Chiefs can do. The first one is to restructure Patrick Mahomes' contract. This can save you around $30 million in cap space. And if you trade L'Jarius Sneed, who right now is on the books for $19.8 million, well, guess what? That's around $20 million. Jawan Taylor, you restructure his contract. There's a simple one for him. You add it into a signing bonus, you're saving around $12.6 million. You do all three of these, you could potentially save nearly $70 million in cap space. And so you'd go from negative 29 to, quick math, around around $41 million right there. So it's pretty good numbers if you can get to that, but obviously things are going to have to start moving fast for the Kansas City Chiefs if they would like to have any money to spend by today. So we'll have to see. But I will say, there's a lot of things that I still think the Chiefs can do, and they can sign these guys or at least agree to sign them and then figure out the money until Wednesday. Now, the first step in terms of free agency is to sign a wide receiver. We've talked about it pretty much all offseason since the Super Bowl. The wide receiver part of the team was an issue last year, and I would like to not have to worry about it in 2024. Now, obviously, I trust that Rashee Rice will be more of a wide receiver one figure next year, but I still would like to add some depth to that, even if the Chiefs do draft one. And here's the wide receivers that I could see the Chiefs signing, or honestly, that are on the board. Obviously, we've talked about Calvin Ridley and Marquise Brown, but there's also Darnell Mooney, Gabe Davis, Kendrick Bourne, Tyler Boyd, Curtis Samuel, and Noah Brown. Obviously, T. Higgins getting franchise tag, Mike Evans agreeing to a deal and going back with the Buccaneers. You have Michael Pittman getting franchise tag. They took a couple of guys off the board. Now, the top three guys are the ones that I want to start with here and ask you, which one would you like to have? Calvin Ridley, Darnell Mooney, or Curtis Samuel? If you're Brett Veach, you're talking to one of these guys, you want them. Who are you picking? R for Ridley, M for Mooney, or S for Samuel? Get down in the comment section and pick a wide receiver for me. We're going to talk about all three of them right here on the show, starting with Ridley, who seems to be a good fit for the Kansas City Chiefs. A guy who didn't play football just 2 years ago due to some personal issues and obviously the gambling suspension. But this year, first year back, 1,000-yard season with Trevor Lawrence as his quarterback, 8 touchdowns, averaging nearly 13.5 yards per catch, and 76 receptions. It's pretty dang good. And I think the biggest thing with him is he's a good option with high upside, and he's going to be relatively cheap for what you could get in terms of yardage and the ability he brings to the field. And I know there's a lot of people speculating, well, now you have Chris Jones, now this cap space is kind of in a weird spot. Are they even going to try and pay for a Ridley-type receiver? Or are they just going to say, screw it, we're going to draft one? Well, I could see that happening, but also you have to think about there's other cheaper wide receivers, one of them being Darnell Mooney. I think he would be a perfect fit in Kansas City as well because he's never been able to reach his full potential. I don't think he's as bad as his stats show over the past 2 seasons, not even nearing 500 yards in 2022 and 2023. But if you look back to 2021, 1,000-yard receiver, and that was more or less when he was the wide receiver one there, no DJ Moore. Obviously, they had a bunch of people kind of flooding in and out at that time. I just think he's never had his chance to shine. I think that's what I'm trying to say here. And honestly, if there's a wide receiver that's cheap and you could take a risk on, I think it's Darnell Mooney. You give him a 1-year contract. You don't put too much into it, maybe $4 million, $5 million. I think he would take it, especially a chance to go win a Super Bowl and play with Patrick Mahomes. Brett Veach kind of talked about it. You get somewhat of a Kansas City discount because you have something that no one else does. The chance to go be a part of the first team ever to three-peat. And honestly, you have Patrick Mahomes. you're going to probably win at least 10 games with that right there. So that's going to be a nice place to go if you're a wide receiver to potentially boost your career for the coming years. Now, the last one that I want to talk about is Curtis Samuel. And I've talked about him since the trade deadline of 2023. Past year had over 600 yards, just under 10 yards per catch and 4 touchdowns. But he never reached his full potential either. Sam Howell was his quarterback. Obviously, you have Terry McLaurin in that wide receiver room. A lot of stuff that he has, honestly, gets me really excited. And in some ways, he has a lot of my favorite attributes from a wide receiver that I would like with the Chiefs, because he's sort of that Deebo Samuel type of receiver that can run the ball. He can run short routes. He can run long routes. He's very flexible. And I know that Kadarius Toney was supposed to be that guy, and I don't think they're going to cut him because it doesn't save you any money. But Curtis Samuel could kind of be a backup option. Say Kadarius Toney continues to fall flat on his face. Well, you just pop Curtis Samuel into that role and say, hey, Kadarius, it's a seat right here. Come take it. You're done. You're done. Let's continue on with the perfect free agency plan, and the second one is to sign running back Austin Ekeler. And I have been contemplating this move, honestly, since the report came out that the Chiefs could be interested in him and that he would be a pretty cheap option. Now, I want to go back to that report real quick just to kind of get you the lowdown in case you missed that video. Now, this was Matt Bowen who had this report, saying with Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Jerick McKinnon heading to free agency, the Chiefs could sign Ekeler on a short-term deal to work in rotation with Isaiah Pacheco. He would give Coach Andy Reid a pass game threat out of 21 personnel with the ability to flex from the backfield. Ekeler caught 51 passes last season with the Chargers and had 440 receptions in his career. Re-signing with the Chargers or joining the Raiders would also be good fits. Now, I think Ekeler fits with the Chiefs for a lot of different reasons. He's a solid running back and is very proficient in the receiving game, which is why he fits, because Isaiah Pacheco, although really showed himself off as a receiving back this past year, that's not what the Chiefs got him in the 7th round to be. And honestly, that's not what they planned for him to be this year, but with the injuries to Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Jerick McKinnon, that's what happened. Luckily, he was able to do it. He's had 4 years of over 1,000 yards in terms of all-purpose. And again, cheap depth, high upside. That's what we're going for here with the money that you have in your bank account, and it's negative right now. Obviously, you'll get it to positive, but when you're trying to make sure that you use it properly, I know Brett Veach wants to make sure every single dollar is used. And Ekeler, he fits the bill in a lot of different ways. Had 900 rushing yards in 2022 and 2021. His receiving threat is what really is able to push him across. And you look back, 2022 and 2021, combined 38 touchdowns. This guy's a touchdown threat. And I think overall it'd be an interesting move because we've seen Chargers come over to Kansas City and play well and get a bigger contract. Anybody say the name of Drew Tranquill recently? Guess where he played before, the Kansas City. LA, and maybe he can go say, hey, this is way better to LA. This is way better than LA to Austin Ekeler, and potentially get him over in KC for around a $4 million deal. Would you sign Austin Ekeler, though? Maybe I'm just talking random stuff right now and nobody wants him. So if you do, type S for sign. If you don't, type P for pass. Let me know down in the comment section down below. Let's continue on here with our perfect free agency plan. The third one is to sign offensive tackle Tyron Smith. Now, he fits the bill in a lot of ways for Kansas City, but he's honestly just a big boy. He had 847 snaps last year. His overall PFF grade was great. Allowed just 1 sack, small range of penalties, and he's a tackle. Why that's important? Donovan Smith is gone to me. I don't see him re-signing with the Kansas City Chiefs because it was a 1-year deal to test out what they could potentially do with him. And now, I don't think he was worth it. I don't think they could bring him back unless he takes a contract that would probably be less than what he wants. This line, though, is pretty dang good besides him. Trey Smith, Joe Tooney, Creed Humphrey, those are locks to be starters and great offensive line members. Juwan Taylor, as long as he doesn't get penalties, will be fun. And I want to kind of provide some evidence. Juwan Taylor had more penalties than he had in 3 seasons this year, so it shouldn't continue. Donovan Smith, though, his stats just aren't the greatest for the past couple of years. You stick in Tyron Smith, bang, you're popping a nice offensive line there. Now, at number 4, I'm going to go with signing the defensive end, A.J. Epenesa. Now, right here is the kind of backlash of the Charles Omenihu injury. Because if he's not injured, you're not talking about trying to find another defensive end. But because he is, and your only guy in terms of defensive instability behind George Karlaftis that you could say has a shot to be a legitimate starter is Felix Anudike-Uzomah. Past that, Malik Herring, I don't know if I trust him just yet. And so I would love to have some people in here that could potentially provide depth options. And Herring, he's not even re-signed yet. Obviously, you have B.J. Thompson, but I don't know what their plan is at the edge. Now, Epenesa, he's been great over the past couple of years. He's just been limited because of a really good edge rushing attack for the Buffalo Bills. But 2022, 2023, although he only had 20 tackles, 16 tackles, 6.5 sacks in both those years, along with a forced fumble in as well. He's a big guy with potential. I continue to say, I'm not going for these like big name home run hitters because we know what the Chiefs are, and that's just not what they are anymore. It's always going to be Brett Veach trying to steal away these like value guys. Guess what? AJ is exactly that. 6'6", 260. This guy has a lot of potential to come and play with the Chiefs right away. And honestly, be a good fit until Charles Omenihu can come back and officially be running with Chris Jones to his left. The last part of this perfect free agency plan for Kansas City is to re-sign Clyde Edwards-Helaire or Jerick McKinnon. We know how the Chiefs use their running back room, and it's full of depth. And if you re-sign, or rather sign Austin Ekeler, I still think you want one of these guys back. Clyde Edwards-Helaire has the age factor. He's the younger one. He still has a lot of potential. Former first-round pick, was a part of that amazing 2019 LSU team, and yet he's never lived up to his potential. His first year was his best year, 800 yards on the ground, 4 touchdowns, but every year it dropped. 517, 302, 223, and he had his starting role grabbed by Isaiah Pacheco in his rookie year. He does have a lot better age factor, though, than Jerick McKinnon, who is into his 30s now, and honestly is a better receiving threat in a lot of ways, but age has got to be a factor. McKinnon, though, has had some more important moments in the postseason and with the Chiefs over the past couple of years. You talk about 2022 when Clyde Edwards-Helaire had a little bit of an injury stretch. Isaiah Pacheco was still a rookie. Guess who really took the running back role with stride? It was Jerick McKinnon. That's why he had 10 touchdowns. He was honestly a killer at the end of the fantasy season. Everybody knows that. And he helped the Chiefs really secure that Super Bowl win against the Eagles, sliding down at the 2-yard line. I mean, this guy really took one for the team. You pair one of them with Ekeler, you're probably going to be pretty good with depth. And I would honestly say that could potentially be one of the best running back rooms in the NFL. Now, I also would say that if you re-sign both of these guys and you don't sign Ekeler, it's still a pretty good running back room. But now that you have Chris Jones and there's a potential to save money by restructuring Juwan Taylor and Mahomes' contract, I think it may be worth it to go get Ekeler and just re-sign one of these guys. But the question is, which one? You want it to be Clyde Edwards-Helaire, then type CEH, the younger guy, but never really proven, or you want it to be Jerick McKinnon, who is a receiving threat, so kind of clashes a little bit with Austin Ekeler. Type JM for him. Curious to see what y'all think. CEH for Clyde Edwards-Helaire, JM for McKinnon. Which one are you re-signing? I'm probably going to go for Jerick McKinnon in this one for the simple fact of I think Clyde Edwards-Helaire needs a restart in a lot of different ways, and I think that the Chiefs need to move on from him. I get he's younger. I get that his potential could still be there. But I'm tired of waiting when you've got a running back in the 7th round that has now become your starter and been the only guy in the history of the NFL to play in back-to-back Super Bowls in his first 2 years and have 75 yards from scrimmage in both those games. I love CEH in a lot of ways, and Mahomes loves him, so I wouldn't be surprised if he's kept around. But this running back room was a tight-knit community last year. It's going to be hard to break them up, but I think it may be worth it if you get Austin Ekeler for around $4 million. I mean, that's a top-tier running back that you're getting on an absolute steal. Make sure you hit that subscribe button because when a deal happens today, tomorrow, next week, today, whatever, I don't care, we're making a video. So hit that sub button. If you want to go one step further, there's a little bell. Turn that on. You're going to get notifications for whenever a video is posted, and you're going to make sure you know exactly when things happen in Kansas City. We appreciate you, Chiefs Kingdom. I know it takes some time out of your day, but that's all we got for you for now. Peace out.